So I'm Corrie Williamson. I'm American Prairie's Director of Community Outreach. And so I spend a lot of time just helping people understand what it is American Prairie does and work with our neighbors and build better relationships, and yeah. I think that to have animals like buffalo back in their homelands and to have ecosystems like this that are really special, we need big areas, we need big spaces, and we need big collaborations. We need groups like American Prairie, we need the work that the tribes are doing, we need federal agencies, we need neighbors. And so I feel really inspired by that, by people working together and communities thinking about a future for the landscape that includes space for animals and for people to enjoy and to protect really, really big pieces of landscape like the prairie while we still can. I think it's a really good relationship, and getting to work with that community is part of my job, and it's something I really love about my job. And I think especially when it comes to buffalo, there's so much in common, and there's so much we have to learn from each other. And just looking around today, there's so many folks from Fort Belknap here to learn and to see, and I just think being able to collaborate and find kind of mutually beneficial ways to work together and to honor the land and to honor wildlife and people, I think that's really important. And I work really hard to try to bring more people into the circle and to get to know and learn from your community. Yeah, I think in a lot of ways they already do. I think many ranchers provide habitat for wildlife and are happy to see grassland birds and various ungulates and herds on their properties. And I think the more we can do to support that tolerance, to normalize it, and also reward it when we can, and to just acknowledge that stewardship, I think all of that is really, really important. Yeah, so right now we have about 800, or between 800 and 900 animals, and we have reached as many as 1,000, but we have land constraints, and we want to make sure that we use those buffalo to help us steward the land, and that we really respect the range, and we make sure our stocking rates are pretty low, and we send a lot of buffalo out to tribes and conservation herds. So right now we're between 800 and 1,000, but hopefully we'll grow a little bit in the next few years. So the vision for all of American Prairie, which came from some studies that were done in the 90s around grasslands and how to really create like a resilient grassland ecosystem, estimated about 3.2 million acres, but American Prairie wouldn't need to own or acquire all of that. So we work around the Charles M. Russell Wildlife Refuge, which is about 1 million acres already. And then we purchase private lands that are also tied to public BLM acres. So the vision of the whole thing is this big mix of federal agencies, private landowners, being surrounded by tribal communities that do so much good conservation work. So 3.2 is the kind of goal or the final vision, but again, American Prairie wouldn't own or manage all of that. It would be really collaborative. Sure. Yeah. So, our philosophy is that, for thousands of years, human beings have helped manage and control populations of animals on the prairie and in all ecosystems. And so we think that that's still an important tool for management and to help with, healthy populations of animals and also coexistence. And so American Prairie has enrolled more than 80,000 private acres in the state's block management program to allow hunting and access, but we also work to increase populations of some animals on our properties, particularly elk. This year we didn't enroll any properties for mule deer because mule deer populations have been struggling, and so we want to help state initiatives to support mule deer growth. And then we do manage a public bison harvest on our property. So the public can apply for a permit or a lottery, and we usually do, between 20 and 30 of those every year to help us control and maintain our bison population. Yes, all of it. Yeah, so American Prairie owns private land, but we really treat that land as open to the public, and anybody can come and walk and bike. Again, folks can hunt, though some of the hunting is through block management. Sometimes they have to, call and make the reservation. But it's all open for the public to use, to enjoy. We have some campgrounds. Folks can cross our private land to get to public land. We want people to come out and experience the prairie and see and be on this landscape. So it's all open. I work with a lot of ranchers. I spend a lot of time with neighbors, and I understand some of the challenges that ranching communities face. It's really not easy to be a rancher anywhere, but particularly out here in some of this country, and there's just a lot that those folks face in terms of policy and markets and just many challenges. And so I respect that sometimes American Prairie can feel like another challenge that they have to deal with. I think we're all really working to ensure that we're not making it harder for ranchers, but also we are creating change in the region, and I know that change is scary, and people feel really strongly about how land should be used, and people's identities and values are often really tied to that land out here where we live. And so I try to be respectful and thoughtful about the stewardship that ranching communities have had in the region and will continue to have. And folks who sell to American Prairie, that's a decision that they make, and folks who stay and ranch on the land, that's a decision that they make, and we support both of those things. No, only you guys do, which is really cool. But I really hope that the Swift Fox that Fort Belknap have reintroduced will come to American Prairie lands and will spread out from their reintroduction sites in your community, and that we'll start to see them out here on our lands. We do have a lot of large intact prairie dog towns, and so I think we could support those populations. There have been several efforts to reintroduce black-footed ferrets on the Charles M. Russell Wildlife Refuge, which we border, but my understanding is that none of those populations have survived. So I hope that both of those animals will make their way out here to American Prairie, but for now, Fort Belknap, I think, is the only place where you can find both of those animals living with bison and prairie dogs, and their historic neighbors. We don't. That's not something that we can do as a private landowner, so that's not something we have jurisdiction or authority to do. So the state of Montana could say that they wanted to reintroduce Swift Fox out here, and we'd probably say, sure, we're a site that you could do that. But we absolutely can't do that legally. We are providing habitat for animals that are able to get here. So, for example, we're starting to see grizzly bears show up in the Missouri River corridor around the Judith and the Arrow Creek, and we are excited by that, and we hope to provide space and tolerance for animals like that. But we can't do any reintroductions ourselves. As a sovereign nation, Fort Belknap can do that, which is really cool, and that's one reason why it's great to be neighbors with you guys. But that's not something American Prairie can do. That's such a great question, and that's something that we want to start to build a collaboration with your community around. So we've worked a little bit with the Tribal Historic Preservation Office, with the TIPO office, and we have some contractors and consultants in your community. But as those sites are found, as we're able to recognize that they exist out here and catalog them, we want to work together with you to determine, should we put a fence around this site? Should we direct people away from it? Are there safe and respectful ways to direct people to it so that they could learn about it and see those sites and that history represented on the prairie? So I think that's a great question and something I think about a lot. And I really look forward to collaborating around how to take care of those sites and how to welcome the right people to see them and experience them, but also protect them. Yes, yeah. I mean, as we talked about, American Prairie is open to everyone, but I know that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody feels welcome all the time. And so I really hope that people in the Aaniiih Nakoda community know that American Prairie is open to them and wants them to visit and to spend time here. And this is your home too, and that's really important to us. And so if there are ways that we can help people get out here, if there are ways that we can provide more meaningful access, more meaningful cultural access, I'm really interested in hearing that. And I really hope that people start to feel more and more welcome to spend time and to enjoy these lands that American Prairie now stewards.